This next proposal, 21B08, deals with the seasons of competition rule, or the rule that describes how or when a student is charged a season of competition. So for many of you, this will not be an unfamiliar proposal, as the Competitive Experience Committee has been working towards a variety of successive proposals in recent years, taking it kind of piece by piece in each successive year. So this is the final piece of the Competitive Experience Committee's work towards kind of revamping how and when we decide to charge students with seasons of competition. So this particular component is specific to what we call non-intercollegiate competition. So when a student is not representing your institution in competition, that's not impacted here. What we're talking about is when the student's playing on a club team or running in individual events on their own. How do we determine when those should charge the student with a season of competition? So for the last 10 or so years, that guideline or that standard has been at elite level criteria. And to determine what is elite level criteria, we've had a set of what we call evaluative criteria that would walk through the specifics of looking at a team sport or an individual sport and how we determine if that particular competition or that particular team or league met this elite level criteria. And the intention is that elite level was roughly approximate to NAIA level of competition. So when you're participating on behalf of an NAIA team, you're charged a season of competition, or when you play an outside competition that's roughly at the same standard, you would be charged as well. This proposal coming from the Competitive Experience Committee relates back to what their perspective is of the experience we have had over these last number of years by using that approach. And there's a few primary principles that have led them to believe that we need to adjust that approach. So their intention is to raise the bar, is to raise that standard, recognizing that the specifics of all of these criteria have made it to where it can be difficult for a student, prospective student, or a current student athlete, or even NAIA coaches or administrators to be able to identify in advance if a particular team or a particular competition is going to end up charging that student with a season of competition. So some concern that's a little too complicated, a little too complex, and so therefore not very transparent. There's also been concern that it also can tend to charge some students with seasons of competition for an event or a league that, as we look at it, might not feel like it should be charged with a season of competition, but by those evaluative criteria, that is the end result. So for all of those reasons, the Competitive Experience Committee here and this proposal are seeking to raise the standard and also find a way to do so that is a little bit simpler, as well as more transparent in terms of what the end result will be, so that prospective student athletes, current student athletes, and NAIA coaches and administrators can all have a better understanding and know what kind of impact will come from a student participating in an event or in a league. So what this does is it raises that level of competition from being at elite level, or approximately NAIA level of competition, and it raises the bar to essentially being professional level competition. So to do so, or exactly how do we determine that? There's a few criteria listed in this proposal. So the first would be, for any team sport, team or league that self-declares, calls itself a professional team or league, automatically we're going to say that meets the standard, and if the student competes in that team or league, they're going to be charged with a season of competition. Similarly, taking the same approach of self-declaration, if a team or a league self-declares itself to be a semi-professional team or league, we would look at that, but we recognize that sometimes that semi-professional language is used largely for marketing purposes and not because it relates to the actual level of competition. So to kind of combat that, and what we're trying to aim at are those teams or those leagues that truly are higher level competition. If a team or league self-declares as semi-professional, we would say in that case we would also need to see that the team or the league pays participants above and beyond travel, meals, and lodging, or reimburses participants above and beyond just that travel, meals, and lodging. So if both of those things occur, then again we would say, all right, that meets the standard and the student is charged a season of competition. Then as it relates to individual sports, for evaluating those, the standard would be if that event or that league self-declares as professional or semi-professional, we would be treating that as charging the student with a season of competition. Specific to those individual sports, a lot of times there may be events that take both kind of all comers as well as have a division or a series. specifically for professionals or those sorts of things. So in this case, we would be looking at the individual students' competition and say, did you run in this 5K in the professionals division, or did you run in kind of the all-comers division, the fun run side of things? So we'd be evaluating it based on the particular student's heat or series or division that they participated in. Another key to know is that this would be effective in May of 2022 for eligibility decisions beginning in August of 2022. So what that means is this would not go into effect in this coming year. The reason that there's a May date is because that's when the NAI Eligibility Center begins to offer decisions for August of 2022. So that's just some clarification on why that date looks a little different. It would not impact any competition that occurs in May of 2022, or that kind of final month of spring sports.